Surah 67, Al-Mulk, Dominion. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. Blessed is he in whose hand is the dominion of the universe, and who has the power over everything. Who created death and life that he might try you as to which of you is better indeed. He is the most mighty, the most forgiving. Who created the seven heavens one upon another. You will see no incongruity in the merciful one's creation. Turn your vision again. Can you see any flaw? Then turn your vision again, and then again. In the end, your vision will come back to you, worn out and frustrated. We have adorned the lower heaven with lamps and have made them a means to drive away the Satans. We have prepared for them the chastisement of the blazing fire. The chastisement of hell awaits those who disbelieve in their Lord. What a wretched destination. When they will be cast into it, they will hear it roar as it boils, as though it will burst with rage. Every time a multitude is cast into it, its keepers will ask them, "Did no warner come to you?" They will say, "Yes, a warner came to us, but we gave the lie to him and said, 'Allah has revealed nothing. You are surely in huge error.' They will say, 'If we had only listened and understood, we would not be among the inmates of the blazing fire.' Thus will they confess their sins. Damned are these inmates of the blazing fire. Surely, forgiveness and a mighty reward await those who fear Allah without seeing Him. Whether you speak in secrecy or aloud, it is all the same to Allah. He even knows the secrets that lie hidden in the breasts of people. Would He not know He who has created when He is all subtle, all aware? He it is who made the earth subservient to you. So traverse in its tracks and partake of the sustenance He has provided. To Him will you be resurrected. Do you feel secure that He who is in the heaven will not cause the earth to cave in with you, and then suddenly it will begin to rock violently? Do you feel secure that He who is in the heaven will not let loose upon you a storm of stones? Then shall you know what my warning is like. Those who came before them also gave the lie to the messengers. Then how awesome was my chastisement? Have they not seen birds above them spreading and closing their wings, with none holding them except the Merciful One? He oversees everything.
إن الكافرون إلا في غرور.
Which is your army that will come to your aid against the merciful Lord? But the unbelievers are in utter delusion. Who shall provide for you if He withholds His sustenance? Nay, but they persist in rebellion and aversion. Who is better guided, he who walks groveling on his face, or he who walks upright on a straight path? Say, He it is who has brought you into being, and has given you hearing and sight, and has given you hearts to think and understand. How seldom do you give thanks? Say, Allah it is who multiplied you in the earth, and to Him you will be mustered. They say, if you are truthful, tell us, when will this promise of the hereafter be fulfilled? Say, Allah alone knows about that, and I am no more than a plain warner. When they will see it near at hand, the faces of all those who had denied it will be distraught, and then they will be told, this is the doom which you used to ask for. Say to them, did you ever consider whether Allah destroys me and those that are with me, or shows mercy to us, who can protect the unbelievers from a grievous chastisement? Say to them, He is merciful, and it is in Him that we believe, and it is in Him that we put all our trust. Soon will you know who is in manifest error. Say to them, did you even consider if all the water that you have in the wells were to sink down into the depths of the earth, who will produce for you clear flowing water? Surah 68, Al-Qalam, the pen. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. Noon, by the pen and what the scribes write. By your Lord's grace, you are not afflicted with madness. And surely, yours shall be a never-ending reward. And you are certainly on the most exalted standard of moral excellence. So you will soon see, and they too will see. Which of you is afflicted with madness? Surely, your Lord knows well those who have strayed from His way, just as He knows well those who are on the right way. Do not then yield to those who reject the truth, decrying it as false. They would wish you to be pliant so that they too may be pliant. And do not yield to any contemptible swearer, the fault finder who goes around slandering, the hinderer of good, the transgressor, the sinful, the coarse-grained, and above all mean and ignoble. Whoso acts simply because he has wealth and sons. And whenever our verses are rehearsed to him, he says, "These are fairy tales of times gone by. Soon shall we brand him on his snout." We have put them, i.e. the Makkans, to test, even as we put to test the owners of the orchard when they vowed that they would gather the fruit of their orchard in the morning, without making any allowance for the will of Allah. Thereupon a calamity from your Lord passed over it while they were asleep. And so by morning the orchard lay as though it had been fully harvested. At daybreak they called out to one another, "Hurry to your orchard if you would gather its fruit." So off they went, whispering to one another, "No destitute person shall enter it today." They went forth early, believing that they had the power to gather the fruit. But as soon as they beheld the orchard, they cried out, "We have certainly lost the way. Rather, we are utterly ruined." The best among them said, "Did I not say to you, why do you not give glory to your Lord?" They cried out, "Glory be to our Lord. Certainly we were sinners." Then they began to reproach one another. They said, "Woe to us, we had indeed transgressed. Maybe our Lord will give us a better orchard in its place. To our Lord do we penitently turn." Such is the chastisement, and the chastisement of the hereafter is assuredly even greater, if only they knew. Surely the God-fearing shall have gardens of bliss with their Lord. What? Shall we treat those who have submitted to our command like those who have acted as criminals? What is the matter with you? How ill do you judge? Or do you have a book wherein you read that in the hereafter you shall have all that you choose for yourselves? Or have we sworn a covenant with you which we are bound to keep till the day of resurrection, a covenant requiring that whatever you ordain for yourselves shall be yours? Ask them, which of them can guarantee that? Or has something been guaranteed by any of those whom they associate with Allah in His divinity? If so, let them bring forth their associates, if they are truthful. On the day when the dreadful calamity will unfold, when people will be summoned to prostrate themselves, and yet they will not be able to prostrate, their eyes shall be downcast, and ignominy shall overwhelm them. For when they were safe and sound, they were summoned to prostrate themselves, and they refused. So leave me, O Prophet, to deal with him who gives the lie to this discourse. We shall draw them little by little to their undoing, in a way that they will not know. I am giving them a respite. Great is my scheme. Or are you asking them for some compensation so that they feel burdened with debt? Or do they have any knowledge of the unseen which they are now writing down? So bear with patience until the judgment of your Lord comes, and do not be like the man in the fish, i.e. Jonah, who called out, choking with grief. Had his Lord not bestowed his favor upon him, he would have been cast upon that barren shore and would have remained there in disgrace. But his Lord exalted him and included him among his righteous servants. When the unbelievers hear his exhortation, they look at you as though they would knock you off your feet with their hostile glances. They say, "Surely he is afflicted with madness," although this is nothing but an exhortation to goodness for everyone in the world. Surah 69, Al-Haqq, the indubitable event. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. The indubitable event. And what is that indubitable event? And what do you know what that indubitable event is? The Thamud and the Ad denied the possibility of a sudden calamity, calling it false. Then the Thamud were destroyed by an awesome upheaval, and the Ad were destroyed by a furiously raging windstorm, which he let loose upon them for 7 nights and 8 days in succession, so that, if you had been there, you might have seen people lying prostrate, as though they were uprooted trunks of hollowed palm trees. Do you now see any trace of them? Pharaoh and those before him and the people of the overturned habitations all engaged in the same great sin. They did not follow the messenger of their Lord, and so he seized them with a severe grip. Verily, when the water rose to great heights, we bore you upon a floating vessel, i.e. the ark, so that we might make it an instructive event for you, and retentive ears might preserve its memory. So when the trumpet is blown with a single blast, and the earth and the mountains are carried aloft and are crushed to bits at one stroke, on that day shall that indubitable event come to pass, when the sky will be rent asunder, the grip holding it together having loosened on that day. And the angels will stand on the sides with 8 of them bearing aloft the throne of your Lord on that day. That will be the day when you shall be brought forth before Allah, and no secret of yours shall remain hidden. On that day, he whose record is given to him in his right hand will say, Lo, read my record. Verily, I was sure that I would be handed over my account. Then he shall find himself in a life of bliss, in a lofty garden, the clusters of whose fruit will be hanging low to be within reach of the inmates of paradise. They will be told, Eat and drink with good cheer as a reward for the good deeds you did in the days that have passed by. As for him whose record will be given to him in his left hand, he will exclaim, Would that I had never been given my record, and had not known my account. Oh, would that the death that came to me in the world had made an end of me. My riches have not availed me, and my authority has vanished. A command will be issued, Seize him and shackle him, then cast him in the fire, then fasten him with a chain 70 cubits long. He would not believe in Allah, the Most Great, nor would he urge the feeding of the poor. Today he has been left here friendless, and has no food except the filth from the washing of wounds, which only the sinners will eat. But no, I swear by what you see, and by what you do not see, that this is the speech of an honorable messenger, not the speech of a poet, little do you believe. Nor is this the speech of a soothsayer, little do you reflect. It has been revealed by the Lord of the universe. And if he, i.e. the Prophet, had forged this discourse and thereafter ascribed it to us, we would surely have seized him by the right hand, and then severed his life vein, and not one of you would have been able to withhold us from doing so. Surely it is a good counsel for the God-fearing. We certainly know that some among you will give the lie to it, and surely it will be a cause of regret for the unbelievers. Certainly it is a truth of absolute certainty. So glorify the name of your Lord, Most Great. Surah 70, Al-Mi'raj, the Ascending Steps. In the name of Allah, the Most Merciful, the Most Compassionate. A beseecher besought the visitation of chastisement. A chastisement meant for the unbelievers, one which none can avert. A chastisement from Allah, the Lord of the Ascending Steps, by which the angels and the Spirit ascend to Him in one day, the duration of which is 50,000 years. So, O Prophet, persevere with gracious perseverance. Verily, they think that the chastisement is far off, while we think that it is near at hand. It shall befall on a day whereon the sky will become like molten brass, and the mountains will become like dyed tufts of wool, and no bosom friend will inquire about any of his bosom friends. Although they shall be within sight of one another, the guilty one would fain ransom himself from the torment of that day by offering his children, and his spouse and his brother, and his kinsfolk who had stood by him, and all persons of the earth, if only he could thus save himself. By no means, it will be the fierce flame that will strip off the scalp. It shall insistently summon him who turned his back and retreated, and amassed wealth and covetously hoarded it. Verily, man is impatient by nature, bewailing when evil befalls him, and tight-fisted when good fortune visits him, except those that pray, and are constant in their prayer, and those in whose wealth there is a known right, for those that ask and those that are dispossessed, those who firmly believe in the day of recompense, and fear the chastisement of their Lord. Surely, the chastisement of their Lord is a thing none can feel secure from. And those who guard their private parts, except in regard to their spouses and those whom their right hands possess, for in regard to them they are not reproachable. But any who seeks to go beyond that, it is indeed they who are the transgressors. And those who fulfill their trusts and their covenants, and those who are upright in their testimonies, and who take due care of their prayer, all these shall live honorably in the gardens. But what is the matter with the unbelievers who are hurrying towards you, in crowds both on the right and on the left? Does every one of them wish to enter the garden of bliss? By no means. They know that which we have created them from. I swear by the Lord of the Easts and the Wests that we have the power to replace them by others who would be better than they, and we shall certainly not be overpowered. So leave them to engage in vain talk and to amuse themselves until they come face to face with the day which they are promised. The day on which they will hastily come forth from their graves, as though they were hurrying on to the altars of their deities. Their eyes will be downcast and disgrace will overwhelm them. Such is the day that they were promised. Surah 71, Noah. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. We sent Noah to his people and directed him, warn your people before a grievous chastisement comes upon them. Noah said, my people, I have certainly been sent as a clear warner to you, that you serve Allah and fear Him and follow me. He will forgive your sins and will grant you respite until an appointed term. Indeed, when Allah's appointed term comes, it cannot be deferred, if you only knew. He said, my Lord, I called my people by night and by day. But the more I called, the farther they fled. And every time I called them, so that you might forgive them, they thrust their fingers into their ears and wrapped up their faces with their garments, and obstinately clung to their attitude and waxed very proud. Then I summoned them openly, and preached to them in public, and also addressed them in secret. I said to them, ask forgiveness from your Lord. Surely He is most forgiving. He will shower upon you torrents from heaven, and will provide you with wealth and children, and will bestow upon you gardens and rivers. What is amiss with you that you do not look forward to the majesty of Allah, when He has created you in stages? Do you not see how Allah has created 7 heavens, one upon the other, and has placed the moon in them as a light and the sun as a radiant lamp? And Allah has caused you to grow out of the earth so wondrously, and He will later cause you to return to it, and will then again bring you out of it. Allah has made the earth a wide expanse for you, so that you may tread its spacious paths. Noah said, my Lord, they did not pay heed to what I said, and followed those nobles whose possession of wealth and children has led them to an even greater loss. They contrived a plot of great magnitude. They said, do not abandon your deities. Do not abandon Vad, nor Suwa, nor Yagut, nor Ya'uk, nor Nasr. They have misled many, so do not enable these evildoers to increase in anything except straying from the right way. And so they were drowned on account of their sins, and then cast into the fire, and did not find any other than Allah to come forth to their help. Noah said, my Lord, do not leave out of these unbelievers even a single dweller on earth. For certainly, if you should leave them alive, they will mislead your servants, and will beget none but sinners and utter unbelievers. My Lord, forgive me and my parents, and whoever enters my house as a believer, and forgive all believers, both men and women, and do not increase the wrongdoers in anything except perdition. Surah 72, Al-Jinn, the Jinn. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. Say, O Prophet, it was revealed to me that a band of Jinn attentively listened to the recitation of the Quran, and then went back to their people and said, we have indeed heard a wonderful Quran which guides to the right way, so we have come to believe in it, and we will not associate aught with our Lord in His divinity. And that He, exalted be His majesty, has not taken to Himself either a wife or a son. And that the foolish among us have been wont to say outrageous things about Allah. And that we had thought that men and jinn would never speak a lie about Allah. And that some from among the humans used to seek protection of some among the jinn, and thus they increased the arrogance of the jinn. and that they thought, even as you thought, that Allah would never raise anyone as a messenger, and that we tried to pry the secrets of the heaven, but we found it full of terrible guards and shooting meteors, and that we would take up stations in the heaven to try to hear, but anyone who now attempts to listen finds a shooting meteor in wait for him, and that we do not know whether evil is intended for those on the earth or whether their Lord intends to direct them to the right way, and that some of us are upright and some of us are otherwise, for we follow widely divergent paths, and that we thought that we will neither be able to frustrate Allah on earth nor frustrate Him by flight, and that when we heard the teaching of the right way, we came to believe in it. He who believes in his Lord shall have no fear of suffering loss or being subjected to any injustice, and that among us some are Muslims, those who have submitted to Allah, and some of us are deviant. So those who became Muslims found the right course, but those who deviated from the truth will be the fuel for hell. If people were to keep firmly to the right way, we would have vouchsafed them abundant rain, so that we might try them through this bounty. Whoso turns away from the remembrance of his Lord, He will cause him to suffer a grievous chastisement, and that mosques belong to Allah, so do not invoke anyone with Him. And when Allah's servants stood up to call on Him, they well nigh swarmed Him. Say, O Prophet, I call on my Lord alone, and I do not associate aught with Him in His divinity. Say, surely neither it is in my power to hurt you nor to bring you to the right way. Say, none can protect me from Allah, nor can I find a refuge apart from Him. My task is no more than to deliver Allah's proclamation and His messages, and whoever disobeys Allah and His messenger, surely the fire of hell awaits him, therein he will abide in perpetuity. They shall not change their ways until they see that against which they had been warned, and then they will know whose helpers are weaker and whose supporters are fewer in number. Say, I know not whether what you are promised is near or whether my Lord will prolong its term. He is the knower of the unseen, and He does not disclose His unseen to anyone, other than to a messenger whom He chooses for the bestowal of any part of the knowledge of the unseen, whereafter He appoints guards who go before Him and behind Him, so that He may know that they have delivered the messages of their Lord. He encompasses in His knowledge their surroundings and keeps account of all things. Surah 73, Al-Muzzammil, the Enwrapped One. In the name of Allah, the Most Merciful, the Most Compassionate. O you, the sleeping, enwrapped one, stand up in prayer by night, all but a small part of it, half of it, or reduce it a little, or add to it a little, and recite the Quran slowly and distinctly. Behold, we shall cast upon you a weighty word. Surely, getting up at night is the best means of subduing the self and is more suitable for uprightness in speech. You are indeed much occupied during the day with the affairs of the world. So remember the name of your Lord and devote yourself to Him with exclusive devotion. He is the Lord of the East and the West. There is no God but He. So take Him alone for your guardian. And bear patiently the vain things they utter and gracefully forsake them. Leave it to me to deal with the affluent ones who give the lie to the truth and bear with them for a while. We have heavy fetters and a blazing fire in store for them, and a food that chokes and a grievous chastisement. They will come across all this on the day when the earth and the mountains shall tremble violently, and the mountains shall crumble into heaps of scattered sand. Surely, we have sent to you a messenger as a witness over you, just as we had sent a messenger to Pharaoh. But Pharaoh disobeyed our messenger, so we seized him with a terrible seizing. If you persist in disbelieving, how will you guard yourself against the woe of the day that will turn children gray-haired? The day whose severity shall cause the heaven to split asunder. Allah's promise is ever bound to be fulfilled. Indeed, this is nothing but a good counsel, so let him who will take away leading to his Lord. O Prophet, your Lord knows that you sometimes stand up in prayer nearly 2/3 of the night, and sometimes half or 1/3 of it, and so does a party of those with you. Allah measures the night and the day. He knows that you cannot keep an accurate count of it, so He has shown mercy to you. So now recite as much of the Quran as you can. He knows that there are among you those who are sick, and others who are journeying in the land in quest of Allah's bounty, and still others who are fighting in the cause of Allah. So recite as much of the Quran as you easily can, and establish prayer, and pay zakah, and give Allah a goodly loan. Whatever good you can send forth for yourselves, you shall find it with Allah. That is better, and its reward is greater. And ask for Allah's forgiveness. Surely, He is most forgiving, most compassionate. Surah 74, Al-Muddaththir, the Cloaked One. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. O you enveloped in your cloak, arise and warn, and magnify the glory of your Lord, and purify your robes, and shun uncleanness, and bestow not favor in order to seek from others a greater return, and persevere for your Lord's sake. When the trumpet shall be sounded, that will surely be a hard day, not an easy day for the unbelievers. Leave me with him whom I alone have created, whom I have endowed with abundant riches, and sons ever present with him, and for whom I have smoothed the way to power and riches, and who still greedily desires that I should bestow upon him more. By no means he is stubbornly opposed to our signs. I shall soon constrain him to a hard assent. He reflected and then hatched a scheme. Ruin seize him. How did he hatch a scheme? Again, ruin seize him. How did he hatch a scheme? He looked at others, then frowned and scowled. Then he retreated and waxed proud, and said, This Quran is merely a sorcery of yore. This is nothing but the word of a mere mortal. Him shall I soon roast in hell. And what do you know what hell is? It spares nothing. It leaves nothing intact. It scorches even the skin. Over it are 19 keepers. We have appointed none but angels as the keepers of the fire, and we have not made their number but as a trial for the unbelievers, so that those who have been endowed with the book will be convinced and the believers' faith will increase, and neither those who have been endowed with the book nor the believers will fall into any doubt. As for those in whose hearts there is a sickness, as well as the unbelievers, they will say, What did Allah aim at by this strange parable? Thus does Allah let whomsoever He pleases to go astray, and directs whomsoever He pleases to the right way. And none knows the hosts of your Lord but He, and hell has only been mentioned here, that people may take heed. Nay, by the moon, and by the night when it recedes, and by the day when it dawns with its radiance. Surely, hell is one of the greatest signs, a warning to humankind, a warning to every one of you, whether he would like to come forward or lag behind. Each one is a hostage to one's deeds, save the people of the right hand, who shall be in the gardens and shall ask, About the guilty ones, what drove you to hell? They will answer, We were not among those who observed prayer, and we did not feed the poor, and we indulged in vain talk with those who indulged in vain talk, and we gave the lie to the day of judgment, until the inevitable event overtook us. The intercession of the intercessors shall then be of no avail to them. What is the matter with people that they are turning away from this exhortation, as though they were frightened wild asses, fleeing from a lion? No, indeed, each one of them desires that open letters be sent to each of them. No, indeed, the truth is that they have no fear of the hereafter. Nay, this is an exhortation, so whoever wills may benefit from it. But they will not benefit from it unless Allah Himself so wills. He is worthy to be feared, and He is worthy to forgive those that fear Him. Surah 75, Al-Qiyamah, the Resurrection. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. Nay, I swear by the day of resurrection. And nay, I swear by the self-reproaching soul. Does man imagine that we will not be able to bring his bones together again? Yes, indeed, we have the power to remold even his fingertips. But man desires to persist in his evil ways. He asks, when will the day of resurrection be? When the sight is dazed, and the moon is eclipsed, and the sun and the moon are joined together. On that day will man say, whither the refuge? No, there is no refuge. With your Lord alone will be the retreat that day. On that day will man be apprised of his deeds, both the earlier and the later. But lo, man is well aware of himself, even though he might make up excuses. O Prophet, do not stir your tongue hastily to commit the revelation to memory. Surely, it is for us to have you commit it to memory and to recite it. And so, when we recite it, follow its recitation attentively. Then it will be for us to explain it. Nay, the truth is that you love ardently the good of this world that can be obtained hastily, and are oblivious of the hereafter. Some faces on that day will be fresh and resplendent, and will be looking towards their Lord. And some faces on that day will be gloomy, believing that a crushing calamity is about to strike them. Nay, when a man's soul reaches up to the throat, and it is said, is there any enchanter who can step forward and help by his chanting? And he realizes that the hour of parting is come, and kaf is intertwined with kaf. On that day, you will be driven to your Lord. But he did not verify the truth, nor did he observe prayer. On the contrary, he gave the lie to the truth and turned his back upon it. Then he went back to his kinsfolk elated with pride. This attitude is worthy of you, altogether worthy. Again, it is worthy of you, altogether worthy. Does man think that he will be left alone, unquestioned? Was he not a drop of ejaculated semen? Then he became a clot, and then Allah made it into a living body and proportioned its parts. And then he made of him a pair, male and female. Does he then not have the power to bring back the dead to life? Surah 76, Al-Dahr, Time. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. Was there a period of time when man was not even worthy of a mention? Verily, we created man out of a drop of intermingled sperm, so that we might try him, and we therefore endowed him with hearing and sight. Surely, we showed him the right path, regardless of whether he chooses to be thankful or unthankful to his Lord. For the unbelievers, we have kept ready chains and fetters and a blazing fire. The virtuous shall drink from a cup tempered with camphor water. This will be a gushing spring wherefrom Allah's servants shall drink wine, a spring from which they will take out channels wherever they wish. These will be the ones who fulfill their vows and dread the day whose woe shall be spread far and wide. Those who for the love of him feed the needy and the orphan and the captive, saying, we feed you only for Allah's sake. We do not seek of you any recompense or thanks. We fear from our Lord a day that shall be long and distressful. So Allah shall guard them against the woe of that day, and will procure them freshness and joy, and will reward them for their steadfastness with paradise and robes of silk. There they will recline on elevated couches, and will be subjected neither to the burning heat of the sun nor to bitter cold. The shades of paradise will bend over them, and its fruits will be brought within their easy reach. And there shall be passed around them vessels of silver and goblets of crystal. Goblets bright as crystal, but made of silver, filled to exact measure. Therein they shall be served a cup flavored with ginger, drawn from a spring in paradise called Salsabil. There boys of everlasting youth shall go about attending them. When you see them, you would think that they are scattered pearls. Whitherto you look around, you will see an abundance of bliss and the glories of a great kingdom. They, i.e. the virtuous, shall be attired in garments of fine green silk and rich brocade, and will be adorned with bracelets of silver. Their Lord will give them a pure wine to drink. Behold, this is your recompense, and your endeavor has been appreciated. O Prophet, indeed, we have revealed the Quran to you in portions. So persevere with the command of your Lord, and do not pay any heed to the wicked and the unbelieving. And remember the name of your Lord morning and evening. and prostrate yourself before Him at night, and extol His glory during the long watches of the night. Verily, they love the good of this world that is hastily obtainable and are oblivious of the burdensome day ahead of them. We created them and strengthened their joints, and whenever we wish, we can change their faces entirely. Verily, this is an exhortation, so let him whoso will take away to his Lord. But your willing shall be of no avail until Allah Himself so wills. Surely Allah is all-knowing, most wise. He admits to His mercy whomsoever He pleases. As for the wrongdoers, He has prepared for them a grievous chastisement. Surah 77, Al-Mursalat, those sent forth. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. By the winds sent forth in quick succession, which then blow tempestuously, and raise clouds and scatter them around, then winnow them thoroughly, and then cast Allah's remembrance in people's hearts, to serve as an excuse or a warning. Surely, what you are promised shall come to pass. So when the stars are extinguished, and the sky is rent asunder, and the mountains are blown away, and the appointed time to bring the messengers together arrives, then shall the promised event come to pass. To which day has this task been deferred? To the day of judgment. What do you know what the day of judgment is? Woe on that day to those that give the lie to the truth. Did we not destroy many a nation of the earlier times? And we shall cause those of later times to follow them. Thus do we deal with the guilty. Woe on that day to those that give the lie to the truth. Did we not create you of a mean fluid, which we then placed in a secure repository, until an appointed time? See that we had the power to do so. Great indeed is our power to do what we will. Woe on that day to those that give the lie to the truth. Did we not make the earth a receptacle for the living and the dead? And did we not firmly fix towering mountains on it, and give you sweet water to drink? Woe on that day to those that give the lie to the truth. Proceed now towards that which you were wont to deny as false. Proceed towards the three-pronged shadow, which neither provides cooling, shade, nor protection against the flames. It indeed throws up sparks like castles, which seem as though they are yellow-colored camels. Woe on that day to those that give the lie to the truth. That will be the day on which they will not be able to utter a word, nor will they be allowed to proffer excuses. Woe on that day to those that give the lie to the truth. That is the day of judgment on which we have assembled you, as well as all those who went before you. So if you have any ploy, try it against me. Woe on that day to those that give the lie to the truth. Behold, today the God-fearing will be amidst shades and springs, and the fruits that they desire will be ready at hand. Eat and drink, and may every joy attend you as a reward for your deeds. Those do we reward those that do good. Woe on that day to those that give the lie to the truth. Eat and enjoy yourselves for a while. Surely you are evildoers. Woe on that day to those that give the lie to the truth. When it is said to them, bow down before Allah, they do not bow down. Woe on that day to those that give the lie to the truth. In what discourse after this Quran will they then believe? Surah 78, An-Naba, the Tiding. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. About what are they asking one another? Is it about the awesome tiding? That they are in utter disagreement? No, indeed, soon will they come to know. Again, no, indeed, soon will they come to know. Have we not spread the earth like a bed, and fixed the mountains like pegs, and created you in pairs as men and women, and made your sleep a means of repose, and made the night a covering, and made the day to seek livelihood, and built above you 7 strong firmaments, and placed therein a hot, shining lamp, and sent down abundant water from the clouds, so that we may thereby bring forth grain and vegetation, and gardens dense with foliage. Surely, the day of judgment has an appointed time. The day when the trumpet shall be blown, and you will come forth in multitudes. And when the sky shall be opened up and will become all doors, and the mountains will be set in motion and become a mirage. Surely the hell is an ambush, a resort for the rebellious. Therein they shall abide for ages. They shall taste in it no coolness nor any pleasant drink, save boiling water and wash of the wounds, a befitting recompense for their deeds. For indeed they did not look forward to any reckoning, and roundly denied our signs as false, and everything have we recorded in a book. So taste the fruit of your deeds, we shall only increase your torment. Surely the state of triumph awaits the God-fearing. Gardens and vineyards, and youthful maidens of like age, and an overflowing cup. Therein they shall hear no idle talk nor any falsehood. A recompense from your Lord and an ample reward. From the Lord of the heavens and the earth and of that which is between them, the most merciful Lord before whom none dare utter a word. The day when the Spirit and the angels are ranged row on row, none shall speak save he whom the merciful Lord will permit, and he too will speak what is right. That day is sure to come, so let him who will seek a resort with his Lord. Lo, we warn you of a chastisement near at hand, the day when a man will look on what his own hands have sent forth, and the unbeliever shall say, Oh, would that I were utter dust. Surah 79, Al-Nazi'at, the Soul Pluckers. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate, by those angels that pluck out the soul from depths, and gently take it away, and by those that speedily glide along the cosmos, and vie with the others in carrying out their Lord's behests, and then manage the affairs of the universe according to their Lord's commands. The day when the quaking will cause a violent convulsion, and will be followed by another quaking. On that day some hearts shall tremble with fright, and their eyes shall be downcast with dread. They say, Shall we indeed be restored to life, even after we have been reduced to bones, hollow and rotten? They say, That will then be a return with a great loss. Surely they will need no more than a single stern blast, and lo, they will all be in the open plain. Has Moses' story reached you, when his Lord called him in the sacred valley of Tuwa, and directed him, Go to Pharaoh, he has rebelled, and say to him, Are you willing to be purified, that I may direct you to your Lord, and then you hold him in awe? Then Moses went to Pharaoh and showed him the great sign, but he denied it as false and disobeyed. And then he turned back to have recourse to his craftiness, and gathered his people and declared, I am the supreme Lord of you all. Thereupon Allah seized him for the chastisement of the world to come as well as of the present. Surely there is a greater lesson in it for whoever would fear Allah. Is it harder to create you or the heaven? But Allah built it, and raised its vault high and proportioned it, and covered its night with darkness, and brought forth from it its day, and thereafter spread out the earth, and brought out of it its water and its pasture, and firmly fixed in it mountains. All this as provision for you and your cattle. But when the great calamity will come about, on the day when man will recall all his strivings, and hell will be brought in sight for anyone to see, then he who has transgressed and preferred the life of this world, most surely his abode shall be hell. But he who feared to stand before his Lord and restrained himself from evil desires, most surely his abode shall be paradise. They ask you about the hour. When will it be? What concern do you have to speak about that? Its knowledge rests with your Lord. You are only a warner to him who has a fear of it. On the day they see it, they will feel as though they had stayed in the grave no more than one evening or one morning. Surah 80, Abasa, he frowned. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. He frowned and turned away. that the blind man came to him. How could you know? Perhaps he would cleanse himself, or he might be mindful and good counsel might avail him. Now he who waxes indifferent, you attend to him, though you are not to blame if he would not cleanse himself. But he who comes to you running and fears Allah, you pay no heed to him. No, indeed, this is only a reminder. So whoso wills may give heed to it. It is contained in scrolls highly honored, most exalted and purified, borne by the hands of scribes, noble and purified. Accursed be man, how stubbornly he denies the truth. Out of what did Allah create him? Out of a sperm drop did he create him, and then determined a measure for him, and then made the course of life easy for him. Then he caused him to die and brought him to the grave. And then, whenever he wishes, he will raise him back to life. Nay, but man did not fulfill what Allah had enjoined upon him. So let man just consider his food. We poured water, pouring it in great abundance, and cleaved the earth, cleaving it asunder. Then caused the grain to grow out of it, together with grapes and vegetables, and olives and palms, and dense orchards, and fruits and pastures. All this as a provision for you and your cattle. But when the deafening cry shall be sounded, on the day when each man shall flee from his brother, and his mother and his father, and his consort and his children, on that day each will be occupied with his own business, making him oblivious of all save himself. Some faces on that day shall be beaming with happiness, and be cheerful and joyous. Some faces on that day shall be dust-ridden, enveloped by darkness. These will be the unbelievers, the wicked. Surah 81, Al-Takwir, the folding up. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. When the sun shall be folded up, when the stars shall scatter away, when the mountains shall be set in motion, when the 10 months pregnant camels shall be abandoned, when the savage beasts shall be brought together, when the seas shall be set boiling, when the souls shall be rejoined with their body, and when the girl child buried alive shall be asked, for what offense was she killed? And when the scrolls of men's deeds shall be unfolded, and when heaven is laid bare, and hell is stoked, and paradise brought nigh, then shall each person know what he has brought along. No, indeed, I swear by the alternating stars that hide, and by the night as it recedes, and the morn as it breeds. Verily, this is the word of a noble message-bearer, one mighty and held in honor with the Lord of the throne. There he is obeyed and held trustworthy. O people of Makkah, your companion is not mad. He indeed saw the message-bearer on the clear horizon, nor does he grudge conveying this knowledge about the unseen. Nor is it a word of an accursed Satan. Whereto are you then heading? It is nothing but good counsel for everyone in the world, for every one of you who wishes to follow the straight way. But your wishing will not avail unless Allah, the Lord of the universe, so wishes. Surah 82, Al-Infitar, the splitting asunder. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. When the heaven is split asunder, when the stars are scattered, when the seas are made to burst forth, and when graves are laid open, everyone shall know all his deeds, both the earlier and the later. O man, what has deceived you about your generous Lord? Who created you, shaped you, and made you well proportioned, and set you in whatever form he pleased? No, indeed, the fact is that you deny the reckoning, declaring it a lie. You do so the while there are watchers over you, noble scribes, who know what you do. Surely the virtuous shall be in bliss, and the wicked shall be in the blazing fire. They shall enter it on the day of recompense. and then shall never come out of it. What do you know what the day of recompense is? Again, what do you know what the day of recompense is? It is the day when no one shall have the power to do anything for another, and all command shall be Allah's. Surah 83. Al-Mutaffifin, the stinters. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. Woe to the stinters, those who, when they take from others by measure, take their full share. But when they measure or weigh for others, give less than their due. Do they not realize that they will be raised to life? On a great day, a day when mankind will stand before the Lord of the universe? No, indeed. Verily, the deeds of the wicked are in the record, locked up in the prison house. And how would you know what the record of the prison house is? It is a book inscribed. Woe then to those that give the lie, those that give the lie to the day of recompense. Yet none gives the lie to it except the transgressor immersed in sin, who, when our verses are recited to him, says, mere tales of olden times. No, indeed. The truth is that their hearts have become rusted on account of their evil deeds. No, indeed, on that day they will be screened off from seeing their Lord. And then they shall enter hell. Whereafter they will be told, this is what you used to give the lie to. No, indeed, verily, the deeds of the virtuous shall be in the record of the exalted ones. And what do you know what the record of the exalted ones is? It is a book inscribed, which the angels placed near Allah to safeguard. Verily, the virtuous shall be in bliss, resting on couches, looking around. You shall see upon their faces the glow of bliss. They will be served a drink of the finest sealed wine, whose seal is musk, so let all aspirants aspire after that. A wine whose mixture is tasneem, a fountain at which the chosen ones shall drink. Behold, the wicked were wont to laugh at the believers. When they passed by them, they winked. And when they went back to their families, they went back jesting. And when they saw the believers, they said, Lo, these are the erring ones. They said so, although they had not been appointed watchers over them. But today the believers are laughing at the unbelievers. Seated upon their couches, they are looking around. Have the unbelievers been duly rewarded for their deeds? Surah 84. Al-Inshiqaq, the rending asunder. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. When the sky is rent asunder, and hearkens to the command of its Lord, doing what it should, and when the earth is stretched out, and casts out what is within it and is emptied, and hearkens to the command of its Lord, doing what it should. O man, you are striving unto your Lord, and you will meet him. Whoever is given the record in his right hand shall be called to an easy accounting, and shall return to his people joyfully. But he who is given the record behind his back shall cry for perdition, and will enter the blazing fire. He used to live joyfully among his people, thinking he would never revert to us. But no, how would he not revert? His Lord was ever watching him. Nay, I swear by the twilight, and by the night and what it enfolds, and by the moon when it reaches its fullness. You shall proceed onwards from stage to stage. So what is the matter with them that they do not believe? And when the Quran is recited to them, they do not prostrate themselves. Instead, the unbelievers reject it, calling it a lie. Allah knows best what they are accumulating in their record. So give them the good news of a painful chastisement. Except for those who believe and do good deeds, theirs shall be an unending reward. Surah 85. Al-Buruj, the castles. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. By the heaven with its impregnable castles. By the promised day, and by the witness and what is witnessed. The people of the pit were destroyed, with fire abounding in fuel, while they sat around it, and were witnessing what they did to the believers. Against these they had no grudge except that they believed in Allah, the Most Mighty, the Most Praiseworthy, to whom belongs the dominion of the heavens and the earth. Allah witnesses everything. Surely, those who tormented the believing men and the believing women and then did not repent, theirs shall be the chastisement of hell, and theirs shall be the chastisement of burning. As for those who believed and acted righteously, theirs shall be gardens beneath which rivers flow. That is the great triumph. Stern indeed is your Lord's punishment. He it is who creates for the first time, and He it is who will create again. And He is the ever-forgiving, the most loving, the Lord of the glorious throne, the executor of what He wills. Has the story of the armies reached you? The armies of Pharaoh and Thamud. The unbelievers are indeed engaged in denying it, calling it a lie, although Allah surrounds them. Nay, but this is a glorious Quran, inscribed on a well-guarded tablet. Surah 86, Al-Tariq, the Night Visitor. In the name of Allah, the Most Merciful, the Most Compassionate, by the heaven and the Night Visitor. What do you know what the Night Visitor is? It is the piercing star. There is no living being, but there is a protector over it. So let man consider of what he was created. He was created of a gushing fluid, emanating from between the loins and the ribs. Surely, He, the Creator, has the power to bring him back to life. On the day when man's deepest secrets shall be put to the test, he shall have no power and no helper. By the heaven with its recurring cycle of rain, and by the earth ever bursting with verdure. This Quran is surely a decisive word, not a flippant jest. They're devising a guile, and I too am devising a guile. So leave the unbelievers to themselves, respite them a while. Surah 87, Al-Ala, the Most High. In the name of Allah, the Most Merciful, the Most Compassionate. Glorify the name of your Lord, the Most High, who created all things and fashioned them in good proportion, who determined and guided them, who brought forth the pasture, and then made it into blackest straw. We shall make you recite, and then you will never forget. Except what Allah should wish, He knows all that is manifest and all that is hidden. We shall ease you to follow the way of ease. So render good counsel if good counsel will avail. He who fears Allah shall heed it, but the wretched will turn away from it. He will be cast into the great fire. Then he will neither die in it nor live. He who purified himself shall prosper, remembering his Lord's name and praying. No, but you prefer the present life, whereas the hereafter is better and more enduring. This indeed was in the ancient scrolls, the scrolls of Abraham and Moses. Surah 88, Al-Ghashiyah, the Overwhelming Event. In the name of Allah, the Most Merciful, the Most Compassionate. Has the news of the overwhelming event reached you? Some faces that day shall be downcast with fear, be toiling and worn out. They shall burn in a scorching fire. Their drink shall be from a boiling spring. They shall have no food except bitter, dry thorns that will neither nourish nor satisfy their hunger. On that very day, some faces shall be radiant with joy, well pleased with their striving. They will be in a lofty garden, wherein they shall hear no vain talk. In it there shall be a flowing spring, and couches raised high, and goblets laid out, and cushions arrayed in rows, and rich carpets leveled out. Do these unbelievers not observe the camels, how they were created, and the sky, how it was raised high, and the mountains, how they were fixed, and the earth, how it was spread out? So render good counsel, for you are simply required to counsel, and are not invested with the authority to compel them. But whoever will turn away from the truth, Allah will chastise him with the most terrible chastisement. Surely, to us is their return, and then it is for us to call them to account. Surah 89, Al-Fajr, the Dawn. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate, by the dawn, and the 10 nights, and the even and the odd, and by the night when it departs. Is there in this an oath for one endowed with understanding? Have you not seen how your Lord dealt with Ad, of Idam known for their lofty columns, the like of whom no nation was ever created in the lands of the world? And how did he deal with Thamud, who hewed out rocks in the valley, and with Pharaoh of the tent pegs, who transgressed in the countries of the world, spreading in them much corruption? Then their Lord unloosed upon them the lash of chastisement. Truly, your Lord is ever watchful. As for man, when his Lord tests him by exalting him and bestowing his bounties upon him, he says, "My Lord has exalted me." But when he tests him by straightening his sustenance, he says, "My Lord has humiliated me." But no, you do not treat the orphan honorably, and do not urge one another to feed the poor, and greedily devour the entire inheritance, and love the riches, loving them ardently. But no, when the earth is ground to powder, and when your Lord appears with rows upon rows of angels, and when hell is brought near that day, on that day will man understand. But of what avail will that understanding be? He will say, "Would that I have sent ahead what would be of avail for this life of mine." Then on that day, Allah will chastise as none other can chastise, and Allah will bind as none other can bind. On the other hand, it will be said, "O serene soul, return to your Lord well pleased with your blissful destination, well pleasing to your Lord. So enter among my righteous servants, and enter my paradise." Surah 90, Al-Balad, the city. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. Nay, I swear by this city wherein you have been rendered violable. And I swear by the parent and his offspring. Verily, we have created man into toil and hardship. Does he think that no one can overpower him? He says, "I have squandered enormous wealth." Does he believe that none has seen him? Did we not grant him 2 eyes, and a tongue and 2 lips? And did we not show him the 2 highroads of good and evil? But he did not venture to scale the difficult steep. And what do you know what that difficult steep is? It is freeing someone's neck from slavery, or giving food on a day of hunger, to an orphan near of kin, or to a destitute lying in the dust. And then besides this, he be the one of those who believed, and enjoined upon one another steadfastness, and enjoined upon one another compassion. These are the people of the right hand. As for those who rejected our signs, they are the people of the left hand. Upon them shall be a fire that will hem them in. Surah 91, Al-Shams, the sun. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate, by the sun and its heat and brightness, and by the moon as it follows it, and by the day as it displays the sun's glory, and by the night as it envelops the sun, and by the sky and by him who made it, and by the earth and by him who stretched it out, and by the soul and by him who perfectly proportioned it, and imbued it with the consciousness of its evil and its piety. He who purifies it will prosper, and he who suppresses it will be ruined. In their presumptuous insolence, the Thamud called the truth a lie, when their arch-criminal rose up in rage. Then Allah's messenger warned them, "Hands off the she-camel and her drink." But they rejected his statement as a lie and hamstrung the she-camel. For that crime, their Lord rumbled down upon them, utterly razing them to the ground. He has no fear of its sequel. Surah 92, Al-Lail, the night. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. By the night when it enshrouds, and by the day when it breaks in its glory, and by Him who created the male and the female. Surely your strivings are divergent. As for him who gave out his wealth for Allah's sake and abstained from disobeying Him, and affirmed the truth of goodness, we shall facilitate for him the way to bliss. As for him who was a miser and behaved with aversion to Allah, and denied the truth of goodness, we shall facilitate for him the way to hardship, and his wealth shall be of no avail to him when he perishes. Surely it is for us to show the right way, and to us belong the next life and the present. I have now warned you of a blazing fire, where none shall burn except the most wicked, who rejected the truth, calling it falsehood, and turned his back on it. But the God-fearing shall be kept away from it. The God-fearing who spends his wealth to purify himself, not as payment for any favors that he received, but only to seek the good pleasure of his Lord Most High. He will surely be well pleased with him. Surah 93, Al-Duha, the forenoon. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. By the bright forenoon, and by the night when it covers the world with peace. O Prophet, your Lord has neither forsaken you, nor is He displeased. Indeed, what is to come will be better for you than what has gone by. Verily, your Lord will soon give you so amply that you will be well pleased. Did He not find you an orphan and then gave you shelter? Did He not find you unaware of the right way and then directed you to it? And did He not find you in want and then enriched you? Therefore be not harsh with the orphan, and chide not him who asks, and proclaim the bounty of your Lord. Surah 94, Alam Nashrah, the opening up. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. O Prophet, did we not lay open your breast and relieve you of the burden that had well nigh broken your back? And did we not exalt your fame? Indeed, there is ease with hardship. Most certainly there is ease with hardship. So whenever you are free, strive in devotion, and turn to your Lord with longing. Surah 95, Al-Tin, the fig. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. By the fig and the olive, and by the Mount Sinai, and by this city of Makkah, a haven of peace. Surely we created man in the best mold. Then we reverted him to the lowest of the low. Except those who have faith and do righteous deeds, theirs is a never-ending reward. Who then can give the lie to you, O Prophet, about the reward and the punishment? Is not Allah the greatest of all sovereigns? Surah 96, Al-Alaq, the clot. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. Recite in the name of your Lord who created man from a clot of congealed blood. Recite, and your Lord is most generous, who taught by the pen, taught man what he did not know. Nay, surely man transgresses, for he believes himself to be self-sufficient. Surely, to your Lord is your return. Did you see him who forbids? A servant of Allah when he prays. Did you consider, what if he is on the right way and enjoins piety? Did you consider, what if he gives the lie to the truth and turns away from it? Does he not know that Allah sees everything? No, indeed. If he does not desist, we shall drag him by the forelock, by the lying forelock steeped in sin. So let him summon his helpmates. We too shall summon the guards of hell. No, not at all. Never obey him, but prostrate yourself and become nigh to your Lord. Surah 97, Al-Qadr, power. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. Behold, we revealed this Quran on the night of power. And what do you know what the night of power is? The night of power is better than 1,000 months. The angels along with the Spirit descend in it by the permission of their Lord with all kinds of decrees. All peace is that night until the rise of dawn. Surah 98, Al-Bayyinah, the clear proof. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. Those who disbelieved, be they from the people of the book or from those who associated others with Allah in His divinity, will not desist from unbelief until the clear proof should come to them. A messenger from Allah reciting from purified scrolls, in writings wherein are scriptures absolutely true and unerring. Nor did those to whom the book had been given split up until after the proof of the right way had come to them. Yet all that they had been commanded was that they serve Allah with utter sincerity, devoting themselves exclusively to Him, and that they establish prayer and pay zakah. That is the right faith. Those who disbelieved, be they from among the people of the book or among those who associated others with Allah in His divinity, shall be in the fire and will abide in it. They are the worst of creatures. With those that believe and work righteous deeds, they are the best of creatures. Their recompense lies with their Lord, gardens of eternity beneath which rivers flow. Therein they shall dwell forever and ever. Allah is well pleased with them, and they are well pleased with Him. All this is for him who fears his Lord. Surah 99, Al-Zilzal, the earthquake. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. When the earth will be shaken with a mighty shaking, and the earth will throw up all her burdens, and man will cry out, "What is the matter with her?" On that day it will relate all her news, for your Lord will have commanded her to do so. On that day people will go forth in varying states so that they be shown their deeds. So whoever does an atom's weight of good shall see it, and whoever does an atom's weight of evil shall see it. Surah 100, Al-Adiyat, the chargers. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. By the horses that charge snorting, then raise sparks of fire by their hoofs, then raid by the dawn, and blaze a trail of dust, and penetrate deep into a host. Verily, man is most ungrateful to his Lord, and he himself is a witness to that. And surely he loves riches with a passionate loving. Is he not aware that when whatever lies buried in the graves is overthrown, and the secrets of the hearts are laid bare and examined, surely on that day will their Lord be fully informed about them. Surah 101, Al-Qari'ah, the calamity. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. The calamity. What is the calamity? And what do you know what the calamity is? On that day, human beings shall be like scattered moths, and the mountains shall be like fluffs of carded wool in varying colors. Then he whose scales weigh heavier shall have a blissful life, but he whose scales weigh lighter, his shall be the deep pit for a dwelling. And what do you know what that is? A blazing fire. Surah 102, Al-Takathur, acquisitiveness. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. The craving for ever greater worldly gains and to excel others in that regard keeps you occupied until you reach your graves. Nay, you will soon come to know. Nay, again, you shall soon come to know. Nay, would that you knew with certainty of knowledge what your attitude would lead to, you would never have acted the way you do. You will surely end up seeing hell. Again, you shall most certainly end up seeing it with absolute certainty. Then, on that day, you will be called to account for all the bounties you enjoyed. Surah 103, Al-Asr, the time. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. By the time. Lo, man is in a state of loss. Save those who have faith and do righteous deeds, and counsel each other to hold on to truth and counsel each other to be steadfast. Surah 104, Al-Humazah, the fault finder. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. Woe to every fault-finding backbiter, who amasses wealth and counts it over and again. He thinks that his wealth will immortalize him forever. Nay, he shall be thrown into the crusher. And what do you know what the crusher is? It is the fire kindled by Allah, the fire that shall rise to the hearts of criminals. Verily, it will close in upon them in outstretched columns. Surah 105, Al-Fil, the elephant. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. Have you not seen how your Lord dealt with the people of the elephants? Did he not bring their plan to naught? And he sent against them swarms of birds, which smote them with stones of baked clay, and made them like straw eaten up by cattle. Surah 106, Quraysh, the Quraysh. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. Since the Quraysh became accustomed to the journey of winter and summer, therefore let them worship the Lord of this house, who fed them against hunger and secured them against fear. Surah 107, Al-Ma'un, Articles of Common Necessity. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. Did you see him who gives the lie to the reward and punishment of the hereafter? Such is the one who repulses the orphans away, and urges not the feeding of the needy. Woe then to those who pray, but are heedless in their prayers, those who do good in order to be seen, and deny people the articles of common necessity. Surah 108, Al-Kawthar, Abundance. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. O Prophet, we have surely bestowed upon you good in abundance. So offer prayer and sacrifice to your Lord alone. Verily, your enemy alone has been cut off from the roots. Surah 109, Al-Kafirun, the Unbelievers. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. Say, O unbelievers, I do not worship those that you worship. Neither do you worship him whom I worship. Nor will I worship those whom you have worshipped. Nor are you going to worship him whom I worship. To you is your religion, and to me my religion. Surah 110, Al-Nasr, Help. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. When the help comes from Allah and victory is granted, and you see people entering Allah's religion in multitudes, then extol the praise of your Lord and pray to him for forgiveness, for he indeed is ever disposed to accept repentance. Surah 111, Al-Lahab. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. Destroyed were the hands of Abu Lahab, and he lay utterly doomed. His wealth did not avail him, nor his acquisitions. Surely he will be cast into a flaming fire, along with his wife, that carrier of slanderous tales. Upon her neck shall be a rope of palm fiber. Surah 112, Al-Ikhlas, Sincerity. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. Say, He is Allah, the one and unique. Allah, who is in need of none and of whom all are in need. He neither begot any, nor was he begotten, and none is comparable to him. Surah 113, Al-Falaq, the Rising Day. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. Say, I seek refuge with the Lord of the rising day, from the evil of all that he created, from the evil of night's darkness when it spreads around, from the evil of the women who blow on knots, and from the evil of the envier when he envies. Surah 114, An-Nas, Mankind. In the name of Allah, the most merciful, the most compassionate. Say, I seek refuge with the Lord of mankind, the King of mankind, the true God of mankind, from the mischief of the whispering, elusive prompter who returns again and again, who whispers in the hearts of people, whether he be from the jinn or humans.